3, 2, 1.
Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mother Podcast. What is going on, Mother
Ralph,
Podcast?
you nailed it, man. You nailed it.
That one I nailed. I didn't
Yeah.
know
We're
that
We're
one,
just
but I nailed
looking
that one.
at you with admiration.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, I try to do it live.
I want to apologize for that opening.
Well, I'm going to re-record it, so don't worry about it. All right. So tonight we got a remake. This is Drew's films. So we'll do the remake. Then we'll do the wheel for the next remake for next week, and then we'll do a round of what did you watch. Unless anybody have any. Now, I'll say this first. They're still looking for Julian Sands. I read an article where they're still.
Yeah, I saw that today too.
So that's
I
out
think
there.
he was on the submarine they were sending down.
Oh my God.
That
the
poor
Titanic.
submarine.
There are
What the heck?
actually 3 deaths we could mention. One of which we should have mentioned last week, and I'm ashamed that we didn't mention it. The Iron Sheik has died, and he was one of the great personalities of both wrestling and the Howard Stern Show. So he was near and dear to my
That's
heart.
right. That's
and
why I know that guy.
he had very, very strong comments to say about Jews, but I don't think he meant it. So I think it was okay. And also Pat Cooper, the very old
Right.
comic who I did not know was
The old
alive.
comic.
He died. And Glenda Jackson died, and that's a
When did she
two-time
die?
Oscar winner. She died last week, I think, or end of last week. She died 87. She was a
Wow, I
two-time
didn't
Oscar
hear
winner,
anything about
15
that.
years as a member of Parliament in England. That is an extraordinary life. And Michael Caine, who is still alive, said she is one of our greatest actresses of all time. And I think
She's
that's
a great
pretty fair.
actress.
She's a great actress.
I
She's
bet
better
when he
than
said
Jaws:
that,
The Revenge.
he
Blew
said
the
he
doors
believed.
off. I can't do Michael Caine, but I love that line. He blew the bloody doors off. That's it. All right. Well, there's our celebrity passings for this week.
Rest in peace.
Thank you. Rest in peace, everybody. All right, Drew. What's the remake and original in this week's edition?
So I brought a movie called District B13 or B13 or Banlieue 13 in French, which is an action movie from 2004. It's from the Luc Besson world of filmmaking. And Luc Besson has given us movies like La Femme Nikita and Leon the Professional and The Fifth Element, and is behind a lot of other movies like the Transporter movies and a lot of other things. And Luc Besson wrote this script, and it was directed by Pierre Morel, who went on to direct Taken, which I don't know if it was a good movie, but it sure was a fun, popular movie. And he was also a DP on Unleashed and the first Transporter movie. So it's a lot of like French action filmmaking royalty, I guess. These guys make big commercial films that are very successful. And I think of this as an earnest French action movie. It's really fun. It's about parkour. All the stunts that you see are performed by David Belle, who's one of the people who first popularized parkour. I don't know if you can say he invented it. I genuinely don't know if you can trace one person to the Traceur movement, but he is the guy. He's the main lead character who is just trying to get by, and his counterpart, enemy, and eventual ally in the movie is played by Cyril Raffaelli, who is a famous martial artist and French film stuntman who's been in a lot of movies, some of which we've seen and talked about, like Brotherhood of the Wolf, and he was in the Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard. So these are guys who have had and have gone on to have big careers in action movies. And so what District B13 is about is it's set in the future, in the year 2013. In 2010, the worst, most crime-ridden district of the city of Paris was walled off, and that is, of course, District 13, and left to its own devices. By the time you get to the movie, 3 years later, schools have left, the police are packing up. Basically, everyone is being left on their own, kind of an Escape from New York type of setup, that sort of thing.
Not kind
and, oh, very, yeah. There's not a lot of original stuff in the movie as far as its version of dystopia, but then people start jumping through windows and running off walls, so I didn't care as much. But the story is essentially this one guy played by David Belle who's trying to fight the gangs, and he has stolen some drugs and he gets rid of them, and this big gangster who I think of as the French Tim Roth named Taha.
Absolutely.
And he's actually played by Bibi Nasseri, who is the screenwriter. And Taha has sent one of his giant henchmen, K2, who has got a lot of personality as well as bulk, to track down David Belle. And eventually what happens is David Belle has to do parkour to get away. And then, in the first few minutes of the movie, you know what this movie is. You know what it's about. You know what it's going to be. And it's really great, fun action. And there's no CGI or wire work or anything. It's all just completely ridiculous physical stuff. And so what happens in the movie is that eventually David Belle is trying to protect people and protect his sister. And he gets betrayed by the police and he gets put in prison. And his sister becomes enslaved by Taha. And then you cut 6 months ahead, and it turns out that Taha's men have stolen a bomb. And again, a little escape from New York. We need to have somebody go in and defuse the bomb and save District 13, or not. And so that's the premise of the movie: is that it's these guys trying to fight to survive, and they learn who they're really fighting against. And I really enjoyed it. And then the remake we can talk about after I get your thoughts on the movie. But the remake, I will say, is also a produced film.
Yeah, this was fun. Definitely.
Good.
And I'm a big Transporter fan, Luc Besson fan, and Taken fan. I thought Taken was great. Just fun. And then the fighting in that sort of mimics what's going on here. The parkour in here is amazing. That guy, David Belle, and Cyril, I guess he's another one that's a parkour guy as well. Running all over the place. It's amazing, the stuff. The stories, it's the story is Escape from New York, right? There's a time limit put on it. They send a guy in. There's more nefarious reasons about why they're sending him in, which we figure out later on, or we're told later on. Right. And I just thought this was a blast. I thought the French version was a blast, and I'm going to say it. I didn't hate the other one, which is called Brick Mansions. We'll talk about that later. But it's definitely different. Definitely kind of added some things that probably didn't need to add.
Backstory, more explanation.
More backstory, a couple new characters, stupidity. Things like that. But I found this one to be lean, mean, and just a lot of fun.
Well, especially after all these Indian movies, I said, "Oh, this movie's 84 minutes.
Woo!
Everybody's gonna love that." And it moves. It's an 84 minute.
It doesn't
moves,
stop.
So.
It doesn't stop. So I really enjoyed this film a lot.
Great.
Yeah, I saw this movie when it came out, or at least was released.
Wow, at the theaters?
No, I saw it on, probably would have been DVD or videotape at the time. I don't think I saw it in the theater. It actually, I'm not gonna say that I didn't, because it would have been the kind of movie that you hear about and so you track it down.
Yep.
And I remember really, really enjoying it when I saw it originally. I think this time around I was a little less enamored of it, simply because it's the parkour, the amazing, unbelievable stunts, while they're still amazing even today. It's the bloom is off the rose on that a little bit, I guess you might say. It's kind of had its popular moment.
Casino Royale.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was probably the biggest production of it. But, yeah, it's got great action scenes. It's got great fight scenes. It's got all of that stuff is really great. And like you said, it clips along at just under 90 minutes. But I think for me, if anything, I definitely enjoyed it the second time around. I thought and I'm a big fan of Luc Besson. I love Leon the Professional and the original La Femme Nikita. Anyway, I think it was, it wasn't quite, it didn't, when I first saw it, it was like revelatory. It was so exciting. You're just like, you come out of there and you think, I could do that. And you can't do that. You're going to die. You're going to die if you try.
Okay. Get stuck in a window.
Exactly. This time around, heck, I have to stretch out to put on my shoes, right? Definitely wouldn't be doing any of that stuff. But no, this time around it didn't quite knock me out as much, but I still really enjoyed it the second time around. Wish I could say the same thing for the remake, because one of the things I really liked about B13, as frenetic as it is and as super hyperactive as it is, one of the things that I think is great is they let you see what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? In the fight scenes and in the parkour sequences, you see what is happening. You see him with a relatively static shot, jump down, run over, spin down, do a backflip, do all that stuff. You see him do it, and that's part of what makes it so amazing. Even the fight scenes, I thought were shot in a way that you knew who was fighting who, you knew what was going on. It wasn't so fast cutting. You're like, I don't even really know what just happened. So that, and I wish more action movies were like that today. I feel like a lot of times, like the super fast cutting is like a way to cheat.
Of course.
Basically say that,
Yeah.
hey, these action sequences, when you look at them just straight on, they're not that great. So we're just going to cut it so fast with everything going on that you get the sense of, hyperkineticness, but you don't really.
Well, it's not even so much that the action sequence is or isn't good. It's that it's being performed by someone who can't do that. Like Paul Walker is a perfectly fine physical actor, but he can't do parkour. The big joke is that scene in Taken by the same director where Liam Neeson runs and scales a chain link fence, and there are, I think, 14 cuts of him climbing it and going over it and all that kind of stuff.
He's an old
yeah,
Irishman.
I'm not faulting him for it.
I think
but
that
I
was
mean,
Taken
you know,
2 or 3. That wasn't the first one.
whatever one it was.
There was one that was
whatever one it
really
was.
cutty.
It's
He's got a-
ridiculous.
he's got a certain
It's
set of
ridiculous.
skills.
Which is okay. I mean, the fact is David Bell is a guy who's a stuntman and an actor and does action movies, and
got a
you
certain set
can
of
show him do all the stuff without cutting to a stuntman. So
Yeah.
they took advantage of that for sure in this movie.
Well, it's just like, a number of times when I think when I think of like Death Proof, the Quentin Tarantino mini film within Grindhouse, he uses Zoe Bell, who's an amazing stunt woman.
Yep.
That it's her hanging on the front of that car, which is probably one of the most terrifying sequences I've ever seen in movies, just from that perspective. But it's great to when you're able to kind of take that and wind it into your film in a way that makes sense too.
Well, that's the whole reason for the film.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts
Right.
with the parkour chase right at the beginning. You know what you're getting right at the front of the film, and it's executed
Well, it's the whole reason for the film, and the other part of it is that it's also the political stuff, because this is made by people who are clearly influenced by La Haine, which was the big breakout movie from 1995 that launched Matthew Kassovitz and Vincent Cassel, which was about young men, one Jewish, one Arab, and one black, living in the projects, essentially, like in this movie, and having one terrible, terrible day where they find themselves across the city and encountering the police and all that sort of stuff. And this movie is about those people in French society who are on the outside of it, who are cut out of it. And this is a sort of sci-fi dystopian take on what some people might want to happen with it and why the people who are the targets might want to fight back. Because it's a very political movie, but as I said at the beginning, it's very earnest. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of Bahubali, now having seen both recently, and that there are people who believe in things. I believe in the rules. I believe in this. And Cyril Raffaelli's character constantly tells you, well, no, I believe in the law. Like, this is ridiculous. Of course, I'm going to do it right. And then he discovers that maybe the law is not being used the way that he's using it. So,
well, unlike Snake Plissken in Escape from New York, Snake was already cynical and didn't
Right.
believe anything. That cop, Cyril Damien, I think is his name in the film.
Damien,
Same as
yes,
Paul-
right. Thank
same
you.
as Paul Walker, was following the rules and the law and believed in it until he didn't, thankfully. So it's a good take, but slightly different. Anyway, anybody
It
else?
would have been
John?
better if he had a really rich grandfather who owned a newspaper. But, I think we got to go back to the original, what I consider parkour film is,
Wait a minute, before you say that, Sean. Now, I'm going to say this. What is parkour? You guys been throwing that word out.
Oh,
What
I'm
does it
sorry.
mean?
So parkour is it's essentially the act of these people who are running along the sides of walls and buildings and leaping through windows and these fluid moves. They know how to fall, they know how to roll. So anything that you see our main character doing, David Bell, where he's leaping from balconies and jumping through windows and jumping off heights that seem entirely too high for anyone to survive, and they're rolling, people have taught themselves to do that. So it's extremely athletic, and I think sometimes extremely lucky and extremely
So
ballsy.
this is a thing.
Oh,
It
yes,
was
it
a
was.
craze.
thing.
It was
It's
a
Debbie,
craze
go
for
on
a while.
Am I
YouTube.
sleeping
Go on
or
YouTube
what?
and look it up. You wouldn't believe
Yeah,
what
my
they-
son was trying to parkour. They were
It's
trying
crazy.
to jump on buildings and
Yeah.
it's movement. They call it movement, but it's quick
It's
movement. and it's
choreographed,
athletic.
right?
Well, not
no, it's
necessarily,
choreographed.
because
Isn't it-
somebody will jump from one side
Right.
of a building to another, or jump from one roof to another down, and that sort of thing. I mean,
Sounds like fun.
When
they
I
know
was
where
a
they're
kid,
going.
Sounds like a
just
good
called it-
idea.
It's
when I was
freedom
a
of
kid, we
movement.
just called it being stupid. You know,
Well, it's
but-
only stupid if you fall and break
Well,
something.
you can't be like I
Otherwise,
was
it's really
watching it
cool.
behind the scenes. It's like it's not stupid. Even the simplest moves, if you're tired and you don't
Yeah.
execute it properly and your timing's off, you're done.
Yeah,
And,
it's
you know,
exceptionally
especially
athletic.
they're doing
You're-
like Drew was saying, no wires. It's all physical stuff that they're doing
If
on the
that
set.
happens, Ralph, it's called non-parkour.
It's
Yeah.
called Goodbye Life.
But let's
because-
look back. And, you know, to me, I was first introduced to it in Casino Royale in that opening chase sequence
right.
set in Africa. You know, that was an amazing sequence. But the original film, of course, is Singing in the Rain, the Make 'em Laugh thing with Donald O'Connor running
That
up
does
the
have a
wall.
similar physicality. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Okay.
you know, so I just wanted to bring that in because that was one of our earlier episodes.
Trade
And we didn't
parkour.
look at it in that way. Now, I mean, to me, this stuff is really amazing. It was amazing in the James Bond film. And I don't care how good you are at this. By the time you're 60, you're going to be in a wheelchair. You know, this is just going to kill you one way or another, you know, even if you survive it. And, you know, when we did the movie 21 Eyes, we had this great stunt man, and we gave him a role in the film because everything was being covered by multiple cameras. And he taught us some of the coolest stuff, and he told us behind the scenes stuff. And then just watching this movie made me appreciate him all the more, and stuntmen. It's amazing that it's the actors doing it in this film. Well, the French film. Well, I don't know, but we'll have to
Tom
talk about
Cruise
the
would do it
American,
if he learned.
Absolutely.
you know, but I
So
really
did you
like
like the
French
film? The question is, did you like the film?
I really liked the French version, and I kind of liked the American version, but it took it to a whole new stupid level, and there's a huge plot hole in both films, but it's more obvious in the American one. And I'll wait till we discuss it then. What did you think, Debbie?
I liked it. I liked the first one, and I thought the second, the Brick Mansions, were word for word the same movie.
Well, there was
Yeah.
some extra
It
characters
was
and different
practically, yes, scene
plot
by
devices
scene.
and some backstory with the father's revenge. You know, the revenge of the
Oh,
father,
yeah.
all that stuff. And
But I liked both of them.
yeah, no,
really thought-
I didn't hate the second one. I actually enjoyed it. I really liked the French version, but and same producing team produced the second one. So that's
And
always
wasn't the
interesting,
actor the same too?
Yeah,
too.
it was.
David
Yeah.
Bell was the
Yeah.
lead in
Yeah,
both.
David
Yes.
Bell.
So was
played the
that
same.
Walker's last film before he died?
That was his last film that he shot and
Right.
completed. Fast and Furious 7 came out after that, but
Yeah.
that was the last movie that he made before he died.
Yeah, they dedicated this to him as well.
Yeah.
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 I was
Which is so
wondering if that was
ironic
added
that he's,
later.
the car chases and all that, and he gets killed in a car wreck. It's just
They emphasize car stuff more in this one for obvious reasons.
in the American version.
The American
Yes.
one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, stupidly. I mean, they were dumb, but so John, what do you think?
So Drew was talking about the remake, and it sounded awful. So he said, if you're going to watch one, watch the French version, which I did. And I'm just going to repeat what you guys all said. For me, my complaint about movies is there's just way too much CGI for everything. That's why I love Tom Cruise and the stuff he does. So when you see this guy doing these moves, like he did that one thing where he jumped up through there was a window at the top of the door.
Yeah,
He did that
amazing.
in 2 takes. It only took him 2 takes to do that. To me, it's just physically amazing what these guys do. And the cop he wasn't quite like Belle was, but he was pretty incredible with the fight scenes he was doing. So I thought it was great. I mean, it was quick. The action never stopped. The characters, I even liked K2. He was kind of a goofy, funny character. I thought the fact that it was his younger sister and strung out, I thought there was a little more weight to
Yeah,
that
more
kidnapping than the
It's
girl.
definitely more compelling.
And they also tried to make the bad guy. Now I watched the first 45 minutes of the remake, and they tried to make the bad guy more nuanced than in the first movie.
You should
And
have
that's
stuck
what
around
an
till the
American
end.
version would do, right? He's not really that bad a guy. Where the Tim Roth looking guy was just bad. But I really liked it, and I think if I hadn't seen that and watched the remake, I think I probably would have been okay with the remake. But after watching 45 minutes, where there was a lot that was shot for shot, I mean, it was amazing how they
Like
duplicated.
Psycho.
Yeah, it was
stupid
kind of
plot
like that. I mean,
developments.
obviously, some of the car chases were bigger, and the way they got that George the Greek was different than in the French version. But there were shots that were identical. I'm like, I don't need to watch this because they're just redoing what I thought was already a good film. So I stopped watching after 45 minutes. But Drew, I appreciate it because I really enjoyed this. I really got a kick out of this movie, and again, the frenetic energy of the scenes, even that when he's running through the hallways, bouncing off the wall, it's just incredible to watch those guys do that. I was pulling hamstrings just watching them.
Well, I'm glad that you guys all enjoyed the French film. There is a sequel called District B13 Ultimatum. It's not as good, but
is it
it's
with
the same
both of them?
vibe.
Is it with
It's
Belle
with
and the cop?
it's with David Bell, and I think it's both of them. They have a different enemy to face, but it's another parkour action movie set in the same world, and it's really fun.
The
I haven't
dystopian
seen it in a while.
2013. Yeah,
Yes, far in the future in 2013. So.
dystopian.
Well, when did New York take place? Escape from New York, 1999, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the crazy, terrible time.
When are we getting flying cars?
We have them now. We're just not responsible enough to use them. That's the problem. Well, now I'd like to talk about the remake. It's called Brick Mansions. It stars the same David Bell in the same role, and it stars Paul Walker as the cop in the role. And some of the stuff we've already mentioned a little bit about it.
He's from French Caribbean.
Right. He's not from Paris. He's from.
Drew, is his
from the
voice
Caribbean.
dubbed in this movie?
You know what? I am not sure. It certainly sounded like
Yeah, I
some
kind of
scenes
got
more
that
than
feeling
others.
that it was dubbed.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like his voice.
Really? I didn't
It-
feel
it-
that way. How could
Yeah.
you tell?
Well, I
It
watched
might
one
be.
right
I
after
mean,
the
he does
other.
speak
Things
some
in
English
it.
at least, but
What was
I
that?
didn't
the-
know he was dubbed all the time. He was dubbed in places.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So first of all, there are two versions of Brick Mansions. There's the original theatrical version, and then there's the extended version, which is about 9.5 minutes longer. I've only seen the original version, and I actually thought I had seen this before I put it on the wheel, and I don't think I actually saw this whole remake movie when it came out. So, because there was stuff I absolutely did not remember.
So you're picking
Even
remakes
though-
like Chris.
Right. Well, but it was by accident.
Are you saying? Wait, are you
But-
saying you didn't see the extended version, or you didn't see the
No,
original?
no, I'm not sure if I actually sat down and watched the whole
the
Brick
original
Mansions movie at the time. I may have had a similar reaction to John, which is like, this isn't terrible, but it's the same thing.
Right.
When I sat and I watched Gus Van Sant's Psycho, I hadn't seen Psycho in years, so it wasn't like right there.
Right.
And I've seen District B13 a number of times. I think it's a really fun movie and everything. But I think it's a great example of how a remake can hew very closely to the original in a lot of ways, and then make certain decisions where you go, okay, well, that's not the best choice. And the reason I know it's not the best choice is because I just watched the original
Right.
that has the best choice, like changing the sister to a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or maybe an ex-girlfriend. It's not even that clear. And making
Well, she is an
RZA
ex at the beginning. She isn't at
at
the
the
end,
beginning, right?
Yeah.
And RZA is the Taha character, the drug dealer character, who, as you said, is sort of, he's not all bad. And the
And he's
truth
an
is,
ally.
they're
Yeah.
not all bad in the sense that they're the villains that they're painted to be at the beginning. I mean, Taha gets the fate he deserves. I
Right.
think it's very satisfying watching him get screwed by his own guys, because and we've seen this in a couple of other movies recently. Like, these are people that work for money. Well, if you can't pay them, then they're done. They'll leave. They'll kill you. Whatever. But the biggest problem that I have with the movie is that it's not a parkour movie, and it has David Bell doing parkour, but it doesn't have that same energy and that same vibe. And it's not that it's Paul Walker doing a bad job. It's that Paul Walker isn't that kind of action actor. He just isn't.
He's
He's been fun to watch, and he's very pretty and everything. But yeah, he's a driver, and even when he's the star of all these Fast and Furious movies, he's not the most exciting thing in the movies, performance wise or anything like that. But I think it was funny because I don't know if you know this, but when George Miller was putting together Fury Road and he was trying to figure out who to cast, and it was not going to be Mel Gibson because he was too old, one of the people he thought about casting was Eminem. And he actually spoke to Eminem, and Eminem said, I would actually be interested in doing that. Of course, you'd have to shoot it in Detroit because I don't leave Detroit. And George Miller was like, well, I can't do that. That's insane. Meanwhile, there are so many movies. Thank God Detroit collapsed, because for movies, it's just completely post-apocalyptic, and
Oh, yeah.
all the car chases that are very silly in this movie, but through all the industrial decay and all those things, it's very convincing that that's what
I kept
Detroit
expecting
looks like.
RoboCop to show up in this film.
Well, I was going to say, and the company at the beginning is like Omnicorp. They're rebuilding it and they're getting rid of the
I
poor
was waiting
people
for
and-
just to see
absolutely.
a leg come through like a cameo, because that was definitely set
Absolutely.
in that kind of environment.
Well,
I
also
didn't hate,
the-
I didn't hate this one. I didn't hate. I remember when it came out because of the Paul Walker thing, and
Sure.
that I had heard that it was a remake of a French parkour thing. I never saw it in the theater when it came out. But yes, why they Americanize it to add all the extra stuff is always a big why. You have a perfectly good movie that if they had just done the Van Sant thing and copied it scene for scene, except put Paul Walker in there, how could that be any worse or better than what they ended up with, which is backstory about a father who has revenge issues. Even the timer.
Didn't we just
even the timer
didn't we
changed.
just watch a movie that the remake added all this stuff about like revenge for a family or something like that, and that just made it worse? I can't remember what we just watched.
Magnificent
but-
Seven.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Denzel
Yeah,
Washington
yeah.
in Magnificent Seven. His whole I didn't need that, and I didn't need that in this at
Yeah,
all.
it's like there's no. And why do they make? It's I don't know. Do they
It
do they
takes
test
away
these?
the nobility, by making it personal. Like the cop in the French film is an idealist.
Yes,
Yeah, he's
by the
saving
book.
France.
He's
not just
by
one
the
guy.
book. He believes in the law. But by suddenly making it personal, it diminishes the character of you in a certain way.
I buy
Because
that.
now it's just a revenge thing. He's doing what anybody would
Well,
want.
where Drew was talking
Got a
about the
point
political aspect of the first one, the people who are trapped behind the walls rising up and going against the government, they basically do the same thing, but they say it in this one. They
Right.
explicitly tell us
Spell it
what they're
out,
doing.
right.
And that's the idea that American viewers, I mean, it's like they're not going to accept it. I guess they didn't see the French film, so they have to remake it and they have to add all this crap.
Well, what about
like
the-
you said, the grandfather smoking the cigarettes, and I didn't even know he was a newspaper man. Is that the story there?
Yeah, I can't even read my own newspaper. He's rich. But even more stupid and obvious is the meeting with the mayor. Here's our new city,
Oh, they
And
played
all
that
we
they,
need-
right at the beginning, right?
That was very RoboCop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of like all we have to do is get rid of all the people that are living there
That's
now.
true, because
Yeah.
in the B-13 movie, we don't figure that
Then-
out till the end.
Yeah,
That's a big
exactly.
twist.
It takes away the twist.
Right.
And
Also,
it
keep in
always-
mind
it-
the scene where the two allies suddenly are fighting each other because one of them thinks the bomb will go off if you enter the code, and one of them thinks that it will be disarmed if you enter the code. They do say explicitly, essentially, they acknowledge the history of Europe, which is that there have been times where people are put behind walls and then exterminated. I mean, he actually mentions the Holocaust,
Yeah.
and that's not something
6
that
million
that
blonde
has-
haired, blue eyed.
Right, for not having blonde hair and blue eyes. And I mean, like that's a part of European history that is more immediate than history here. We certainly have lots of things that are related, but there hasn't been a history of let's put people in ghettos and exterminate them explicitly over and over and over. Not just Jewish people, but lots of different kinds of people. And so I don't think you had to explain that to the French audience, that it was very credible that there would be some people who would say it would just be better if we nuked these people and then we could start over. And that's what
I
the
think
goal
the
of the
American
big enemy
people
was.
bought it just fine.
Oh, I think they could have
Yeah.
trusted us more, absolutely. But
But
that-
they,
I
what
think
did
that's
they
why
think? They
didn't
thought
do
they
it.
had Paul Walker, and that was going to be the selling point for this one, right?
Probably.
That was the whole reason for it.
Paul
And parkour.
Walker's fine, but talk about not doing the parked car.
Parkour.
But
He parked the
there
car, he
was a
didn't do
scene
the
where he
parkour.
was just running, just like in the first film, split up. Well, they only split up in the first film so they could do more stunts.
Right.
But Walker wasn't doing the stunts. But when he was running, it wasn't convincing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just wasn't convincing.
They were
He
trying to
was
make
running.
him that first scene where he jumps on the back of the car going after the Greek guy. I mean, it's like that's what
Yeah, it
that's
was
what they're
silly.
going for. That was terrible.
It was silly.
It was
But
terrible.
can I tell you what the stupid plot thing is?
I thought it was the mayor
Okay.
at the front. There's more.
Well, the whole thing is, okay, it's a neutron bomb. It's a nuclear weapon. Now, a neutron bomb or any nuclear weapon, you don't hit it with a hammer and it goes off. There's a whole,
How do you do it, Sean?
it's a whole chain reaction of things that cause a weapon like that to go off. So they set up the ticking clock, which was better done in the French film than the American. And it's ticking down and it's going to blow up. And so the bad guy puts it on a rocket. He's going to shoot it into either Paris or Detroit, whatever way it is. And then suddenly the military guys are worried. And the mayor is worried. Why are they worried? Because when it's done, it's not going to go off. They need somebody to type in the code for it to go off. If you put that in a rocket, a bomb like that, they don't hit, when they set off a nuclear weapon, that doesn't hit the ground. It's usually an airburst or underground, but it doesn't go off because it hits something. It goes off because it goes through a programmed set of, commands and chain reactions.
In this movie, both of them, they had a woman chained to the rocket, right?
Yeah. Now that's what
I think that's the point of the rocket.
In Los Alamos. I think that's what they did there.
Yeah.
At Hiroshima too, they tied a woman to it and they threw it over.
They tried to make this one a little sexier by adding the
hot girlfriend.
The hot. Well, the girlfriend plus the henchwoman.
Plus Reza, the torture.
Reza, who was going to torture.
Yeah, but let me go back to this. So here's the thing: the military guys. There's no threat.
Go back to the detonation of the nuclear bomb.
Would not be worried about Paris blowing up.
That's true. You're
or
right.
Detroit blowing up, and the mayor wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because if it was going to blow up, they wouldn't need someone go in there and type in the code that would set the bomb off. So shooting it in a rocket, and the fact that they're all worried about that, they should be worried when they bring it in and they say, oh, I'm going to type it in here. Then they're worried, and that makes sense for the plot. But for this plot, for these guys to get worried that it's going to blow up Paris or blow up Detroit, just doesn't make any sense.
So you're saying if the bomb detonates in a rocket over Paris, it's not going to do anything?
It wouldn't have. As soon as he punched in the code,
it would have as much damage as a rocket with my computer on it hitting a building.
As soon as he punches in the code, the bomb detonates.
But it's not going to detonate on impact.
No, but I'm saying once the whole point was someone's got to put in the code and then it detonates. The bad guy put it on a rocket thinking he could launch it to Paris because he didn't understand. All he saw was the timer. He didn't understand how that worked.
All I know is all I was looking at is the producers really like sexy women in schoolgirl outfits.
Yeah,
I noticed the schoolgirl thing.
Luc Besson, definitely there's some issues there, man.
Chris, what's your theory on the nuclear detonation?
Or do you want to wait for Oppenheimer?
Didn't they do this in The Rock? The same thing? Oh, that was chemicals. That's
no,
different.
VX rockets.
That's totally different, Ralph. Yeah. Oh my god.
But actually, it does come back if you think about that really amazing George Clooney
Peacemaker.
The Peacemaker.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because in the end, and Ralph's actually 100% correct. In the end, he basically just pops out one of the little explosive panels that have to go off in an exact, precise way. So just by popping off that panel, the explosion blew up the church or whatever, but it didn't set off it didn't start an atom, a chain. It didn't set off a nuclear reaction.
Chris, I was only kidding. I wanted you to talk about the movie, but that's great. Whatever.
No, but he's making
a great point. But what do you think about the remake?
Oh, the remake. The remake. It was so okay. Once again, one of the things I loved about the first one, you get to see all the parkour. This one, chop, chop, chop. Can't even see it. It's not as cool. Even when it was David Belle doing the stuff, wasn't under. I didn't like they threw in that cat fight for no apparent reason.
Yeah, they kept.
There was a reason.
Oh, I mean, you're right. There's always a reason for a cat fight, but it didn't make sense. I was really kind of surprised. I was like, well, why did they change it? I actually liked it being his sister
and strung out sister.
Yeah, that was really dark.
Yeah.
But I actually liked it being his sister way more than it being like his girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, whatever. But
that's a big difference, right?
They're together.
Not for this film.
No, but I'm saying the motivation.
When they see each other the second time.
And I was really, I'll be honest with you, I really like RZA as a performer. In my opinion, he is the Wu-Tang Clan. Really, I mean, he's like the genius.
Whoa, easy. Easy.
Well,
now we're gonna get some comments.
Yeah, we are.
I'm sure. I will say
don't
this:
think so.
Bobby Digital
Well,
is
I
pretty.
have a question now back to this
Concept out
parkour, Drew. Is it a French word?
Yes.
Yes.
Parkour is a French word. Yeah.
What
It
does
was
it
originally
mean?
they were called traceurs,
Yeah.
and then they became parkour, and that's the word that's known internationally. Parkour.
What does the translation of parkour mean?
I don't know.
Limber.
I think it means looking awesome while
Limber.
you run around or something.
Super
but-
cool.
Gabby, you could be
Super cool.
parkour if it means.
It's
I mean, there are gyms now.
Awesome.
You can go to gyms that are parkour gyms, and you can train. It's like American Ninja stuff and all those kinds
No.
of
Well,
stuff.
the
that
Boston
move.
Garden
He
I
did
wanna
another
do
move in
that.
the American film where he jumped through the car window, which
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Boston
one.
Garden has a
Some good stuff.
parkour floor.
parquet.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Well,
yeah,
there's
I mean,
one
not
there's
better.
one other thing. There's one other thing I wanted to say. When we look at these remakes, sometimes there's something in the remake that I'm like, man, that's better. I wish that had been in the original because it was better. And for me, it was Yeti. And Yeti is the big guy that they fight when they're trying to get to the bomb. And in the original one, it's a big fat guy and he's intimidating and you can punch him a lot and it doesn't do anything. That's fine. Robert Maillet, who plays Yeti in the American version, who was in 300 and he was in Sherlock Holmes. He was also a professional wrestler for like 30 years or something. He has so much personality in that giant, awkward body and that big face. When they were fighting him, I was like, I wish that he had been in the French version because I mean he would fit right in with the vibe.
Well, I
of
did
it.
like the
He's
way
humongous.
there's a mystery about that big guy. They go into that pen to take him out in the
Right.
French
In
version.
the
Right.
French version.
We got to
Yes.
bring him out. Take him out. We're take the thing
Yeah, are you
out.
feeding him? Yeah.
But both those scenes were well done. The way those two guys were up against those big lugs. It was
Yeah, it was fun.
pretty good. Yeah, the French one still, again, even in the French one, the rope thing he did, the rope trick he did was better in the French one. Same guy doing.
Yeah. It
Same
looked
guy
cooler.
doing both, but they had to have Paul Walker involved in that one where the other guy wasn't. And,
Right.
and I like Paul Walker. I enjoy his films. I think he's
He was fine. I mean, what I saw, he was perfectly fine in it.
yeah, but he's not the other guy. That
Right.
Cyril I thought was
Yeah.
great. I really enjoyed him. I thought he was terrific. And the Greek guy from the American version, he's been in a lot of these transporter films and stuff. I think that guy's been in a lot of stuff. Through,
They do have a stable.
He was in
of-
24.
of regulars.
That's right. He wasn't he? Yeah. All right. Well, that's interesting. This is.
Well, I just want to say, sorry, I thought
Go
we were
ahead.
gonna jump.
I was about to
That
wrap it up.
Of all the remakes we've done, I definitely think the French film was better. I think this is the best of the remakes.
No,
I don't, know
I
about
don't
that.
agree with that.
Which one do you think was better?
I think the Magnificent Seven
better
was a lot of
against the
fun.
one? It's the better. What do you mean better against
In
all the
comparison.
remakes? Are we picking the best remake in
yeah, the best
comparison?
remake against the
I would
You
say
mean
that-
against the original?
yeah.
I'm going to say Magnificent Seven for me.
You mean
Yeah,
you're
that was
talking
fun.
about the Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven?
Well, I'm talking about directly Magnificent Seven to Denzel
Magnificent
Washington.
Seven.
Magnificent Seven.
Oh,
That is probably the second best.
What do you? So you said this is the first? You like Brick Mansion?
Yeah, I
like
think this
that.
is the closest. I think, in my opinion. What do you think?
I like Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven, original Magnificent Seven.
That's not what we're asking. We're asking
Yeah.
which. Oh, you're saying the remake of Magnificent Seven
Yeah,
against Seven
because
Samurai.
Magnificent Seven is a remake.
You're doing a
It's a-
deep dive. You're doing a deep dive there. I
right.
get you. I see what you did there.
Going
All
up
right.
the vine.
All right. Anybody want to say anything else before we move on? Okay. So we'll move on to the next spin. Okay. Stand by. I don't know why that keeps happening. Thought I had it. Oh, I got to go full screen on it. That's
All right, John, let's get ready.
Yo, you guys going to predict this one?
Nostradamus.
Oh, God. Another vampire film.
No.
No, that's Nosferatu.
Okay, I'm going to just...
Negro
I'm
Dominus.
going to go to bed now.
The character from the Chappelle Show.
what do you got? Jet lag, Ralph?
You can't go to bed. You have to do the Instagram thing.
Yeah, I got to do that after this. Son
Yeah.
of a bitch.
It's
All
movie
right.
magic.
All right, here's what we got left.
It's going to be the Island of Dr. Moreau. I just know.
I
it.
hope so. I can't wait to see the
That'd be good.
recent
for
version
that one.
again.
The original is a classic.
They both are in their own ways.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Murder.
On the Orient Express.
I don't think I've seen either one of these.
Hey, this is no. This is. I think this is the last of my choices. This is going to be one. I think that's going to be, in my opinion, I think this is going to be very similar to the Magnificent Seven, maybe even a little bit closer.
I think this is the mustache one. Is this the mustache?
Hercule
Poirot.
Hercule Poirot,
But with
He's
But
not
Kenneth
French,
Branagh
he's a
did the remake,
Belgian.
right? Kenneth Branagh did
Kenneth
the
Branagh
remake.
directed the remake. He plays
We saw
Poirot.
it in the theater.
that's the one we're talking about watching. Is that remake?
Right.
Well, but if you
then
haven't
there's
seen either one of them, you got to watch both.
the
of them, right?
original.
Yeah.
The original was
It's about the
directed
Albert
by-
Finney.
Yes, Albert
Okay.
Finney is Poirot. Has and also has it's directed by Sidney Lumet. And they're very different takes on the same. They're not actually that different. Based on obviously probably
Same book.
Christie's most famous novel, Murder on the Orient Express.
All right, so here's my question. So it's a murder mystery, right? If you haven't seen the movies or read the book,
Right?
so if you watch both of them,
The butler
you're
did it.
You're going to know who did it, right? So which one should we watch first?
Ooh, it's a tough one. I would almost say just go ahead and go in
In order.
logical order. Do the
Okay.
Sidney Lumet
Watch
version.
the original.
Yep.
So we should watch the 1974 Murder on the Orient Express and then the 2012 Bullet in the Head, and then we'll have the full
Exactly.
experience.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
right.
want to make sure we watch the right stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know.
I've never
guess
seen
that-
either of them,
I guess
so.
that's the way I
Never
would
seen
do it.
either of
I don't know.
Very good.
Now, let me ask you, Drew. Do you know? Are you familiar with the story though?
I mean, I read it growing up. I honestly can't remember. I can't remember all three endings of the movie Clue. So
Okay.
it'll still be full
One
of surprises
ending.
for me. It'll still be surprises for me.
Nice.
So
It's kind of
But yeah,
an
it should be
odd
fun.
choice for Sidney Lumet because, he's mainly known for his more gritty
Yeah.
drama.
Sure, it's Sidney.
lot
He
of
did the
New York
verdict, right?
based
Didn't he
stuff.
do
Yeah.
the verdict?
He did a lot of
Done
stuff.
Dog Day Afternoon, right? He's done.
But
Yeah,
it's,
tons.
Facing the crowd.
Prince of the City.
I saw this in the movie. I saw this version, the remake in the movie theater.
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah,
So did Debbie and I.
quite enjoyed it.
It was a big hit too, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Didn't make
Yeah,
a
it
lot
looks
of money, I
fun.
thought.
Well,
And that guy what's that? Ryan Johnson did that, didn't he? Wrote it or?
I don't.
it's just
think-
Kenneth Branagh.
No, this
Because
is
he's a
Kenneth.
terrible director,
Yeah.
Who?
Ryan Johnson.
You're insane.
Because he
am
ruined
I?
Star Wars.
Terrible.
Oh,
Awful.
Get over
Killed
it.
the franchise.
Oh, wow.
That was the only one that was halfway decent of those last.
Oh
three.
wow. Okay, so he was the tallest dwarf in the room.
All right, boys. Okay,
Insane.
stop with the geeking. Stop.
He was
Oh,
the
sorry,
guy
neurotic.
with Sean in
Neurotic
the
with
room.
hairy feet. We can't talk about that. All right.
Yeah, so I was in Florida this week, and Maria's friends are all into the guy we were staying with, all into your Star Wars and stuff. I ended up
Milf
watching.
Manor?
I ended up watching the last 3 episodes of the Titans.
Oh yeah.
You guys are insane. That's all I'm.
That's not a very good show though.
Okay, good,
It's not.
good, because it was awful.
Titans isn't a good show.
Awful. He was explaining all the lore and
But you
everything. And this
watched it,
person,
Ralph.
this and this, and
You
this is-
watched it,
and
didn't you?
Lex Luthor's half son, Superman, bald guy with the thing, and he wears a T-shirt that says S on there. I'm like,
That's Connor. That's
Okay.
Connor.
all right, let's do a round of what you watch, please. Let's start with Chris.
Oh, oh yeah. So I decided with the coming of the new Indiana Jones movie, I decided to revisit Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh my.
Isn't that
Oh.
the worst in the group?
Oh, by far.
Of the ones currently out.
Well, it comes out on the 30th, but I had only ever actually seen Crystal Skull in the theater. I
John,
had
you look Amish with that on. It doesn't look like
Doesn't
Indiana
look
Jones.
well.
Too big.
Yeah, there's something wrong.
So I went back and I watched it, and it's one of those films where I feel like
Nothing against Amish people. I'm sorry.
if I had
They're
been
not
in the
watching.
room
No,
with
they're not allowed to watch.
Spielberg, I could have helped that film because it's just so silly in some parts that I just
In fairness to Spielberg, he didn't want to do a lot of the stuff in
Yes.
that movie.
I-
Lucas
That was
wanted
Lucas.
it.
That's true.
yeah.
And he wasn't crazy about like the alien stuff at the end.
Well, you know,
Well, you know what? It would have been better if Ryan Johnson directed it.
I think it would have been. I mean, I get what he was going for. You know, like the whole idea of the pulp heroes turning into like the 50s sci-fi stuff. I get it, but there was just too much like silly, stupid stuff in there, and it was really sad too because I really, really, upon rewatching it, really enjoyed the stuff with Karen Allen.
Yeah.
Honestly. I
And
really,
there was
good
some
to
good
see her
action scene.
again.
That opening action scene in the library was
Yeah.
good. I mean,
Yeah,
there were some good things.
Yeah, the college campus thing is it's an all timer. It's
Yeah.
just
So-
great.
So
Is
one of
Shia
them
LaBeouf being groomed to be the new Indy?
Mutt.
Not anymore.
Mutt.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, not
He's
anymore.
not going to be the new Indy or the new Flash.
No. No. He's
So to kind of erase that, I did show both of my children Raiders of the Lost Ark. We sat down and we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark.
had
And
they
he-
ever seen it?
They had never seen it, and they both really enjoyed it. And I was, especially with my daughter, I was like, "There's going to be some scary stuff. You can close your eyes." Apparently, melting Nazis don't bother her.
Nice.
The deep end of the pool, a little bit, but melting Nazis, not so much.
Oh, that's great. So they liked it. I'm so glad.
Yeah,
That's
they really did. In
such a
fact,
great film.
we're probably gonna catch Last Crusade, and then we might go see it in the theater, the new one, just for the heck of it.
Yeah, no, you might as well.
What's
yeah.
the prognosis on the new film? Have you guys
It's
heard
getting.
anything?
They're saying it's going to
Horrible,
lose so
not
much
doing
money.
Oh, you're
Really?
kidding.
In fact, Spielberg came out and did. Kathleen Kennedy's the one who's killing everybody, all the franchises. But he came out and thanked everybody but her on stage when she was on stage.
Wow.
Thanked everybody. And Lucas is coming out bitching about it. Harrison Ford came out and has been pitching about it.
Who directed?
What's
Was
their
it directed by
problem?
Spielberg?
No, it was.
So what's
No,
he up
what are
on
they
stage? Who's he
saying?
thanking? What do you mean he's up on stage thanking people?
It was. I think it was at Cannes. So he said what made Indiana Jones what it was. He mentioned Lucas. He mentioned.
Oh, so he was talking about the original.
He was talking about the character and
Okay.
all the movies, and the last one he mentioned was John Williams, and never mentioned Kathleen Kennedy, who produced, I think, if not all of them, a bunch of them. But
Wow.
it's predicted to. They're already making up excuses for it, how bad it's going to do.
Do we think it's better than the 60 some scintillating hours of Indiana Jones Chronicles? Because that was dynamic.
There were some good episodes in there.
Some of the episodes are actually pretty good.
I always liked
That's-
Teenage
It wasn't
Indy
bad.
in World War
Yeah.
One. I like
Yeah.
those episodes.
Very
my
generous of you.
Wow. All right, Sean and Debbie, what'd you watch this week?
Excuse me.
Well, I've been out working all the time, day and night. But that said, I think I mentioned this last week. We were trying to figure out what Hitchcock film to show the grandchildren, and none of them had seen Psycho.
No,
How
we're not
old are your
letting them
grandchildren?
watch that.
And then
No,
I
How old are
thought-
your grandchildren?
What?
How old are your grandchildren?
Old enough,
Eight,
apparently.
8 and
appropriate.
11.
Yeah, not. I mean,
Psycho,
no, probably not.
No, I don't.
But it was
that's not-
very late, and we started watching The Birds, and
Oh,
they were
God.
all asleep before the first
Oh,
attack.
good. Hitchcock. That's not for kids.
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
you know what's for
think so.
kids is Star Wars. They should watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
They didn't watch. They didn't jump onto it. Once we watched it,
Me and
The
Max.
original.
Max was 6. We watched Store of Echoes together. It was awesome.
Well, you watch
Explain-
Clued at 12.
Explains.
It's a good
I
family
watched
film.
Clued. I didn't. Okay.
Had your
So
first
Debbie, is that it? You
experience
too?
with
Is
a
that
guy.
yours?
Yeah, we're so busy, guys.
no,
We're-
didn't
we're
we
sorry.
watch that morning show and somebody flashed the audience?
What?
The girl from
I'm not saying anything.
Debbie,
It's that
you don't
one
have to
girl
say
who was
anything.
on
with I'm not gonna
Ranches.
say
Debbie, you don't
anything.
have to.
I
You
don't
be
want
you.
to.
She called me and said, "Sean, you got to see this." She wasn't wearing any underwear, and she had this dress on.
Okay. John, what'd you watch?
So excuse me, I went
Why?
to the movie theater and I saw
Public
The
should know.
Flash.
Okay.
The Flash?
The Flash. I
Yeah,
won't
we
give.
saw your
I did
10-minute.
I did a 10
Isn't that what
minute
Sean
review
was
on-
just talking about?
I thought so.
And I will tell
It
you,
reminded him.
people who I really respect are roasting the movie, and I have to say, look, Ezra Miller is a bit of a freak show, and he should probably be in jail for some of the stuff he's done. But he was actually pretty good in this, and I actually liked this movie. Yeah, the CGI was terrible in a lot of the movie; it was bad. But Michael Keaton was great. Ezra Miller plays two roles that you can see in the trailer, and he's actually very good. And I will say, as far as special effects goes, the way they interacted with each other was pretty seamless. I mean, it was incredible. Like the Doom movie we watched with Amir Khan, it was like that, and it was really well done. And it just wasn't nearly as bad as people are saying. And it's losing a lot of money. It's going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't that bad. I saw it in IMAX. I'm glad I did. But I would say if you like the genre, look, I think it's probably the best superhero thing to come out in a couple of years. Now, that's not saying much because most of the stuff's been garbage. but this was actually a pretty good movie. And I'll tell you what, the audience reactions to callbacks, like with Michael Keaton as Batman, you know, a couple of lines from the original, were off the charts. And I saw it in a packed house. So I will say this though: do not stay for the after credit scene. Let me repeat that: do not stay for the after credit scene. It's a complete waste of time, and you got to go through the entire credits, and it takes forever. And my audience groaned after it was over. It was so.
Was it Ezra Miller
My
grooming
audience
some
or the
underage
audience
girl?
you were in? My audience.
The audience. The what? What'd you say, Sean?
Was the after title sequence Ezra Miller grooming some young girl?
No.
Do you think it would be better to watch the after credit sequence or just watch ER?
No, that's not the after credit sequence.
Oh, there's another one?
Yes.
Oh my.
That's what I'm saying. Don't
Wow.
stay for it. It was
Wow.
awful.
What's
I will
the
tell you
ER
that
joke?
this-
What is that?
The scene you're talking about. Well, I don't.
I know they go back and forth in time, universe, blah blah blah, Back to the Future. Bah, 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 bah,
They
bah, bah, bah.
reshot the ending 3 times, and the ending they came up with is an ER reference. And I will tell you that Ezra Miller's line, it's a PG-13, but when Bruce Wayne gets out of the car and he sees who it is, he goes, "Who the F are you?" And the audience went crazy.
So it's
And
George
it was-
That's
Clooney's
funny.
in there somewhere. Is that?
I'm not saying that because I don't want to spoil it,
Just the way you guys spoiled it.
but I
You
don't
just
want to
did.
spoil
Wow.
it. So if you're listening, you won't know. But
I'll
I'll
tell
tell
you,
you,
I
if you
did
like
like
Nobody's
Leonard
watching at
Snyder.
this point anyway. This is just between
Go
us.
see
That's-
it. Chris,
scientifically,
you should see it in
we
the movie
know
theater.
that.
You
I
know,
think you'd like it
it's
in the movie
funny.
theater.
I think if I'm going to go see if I'm going to go see a superhero movie, it's going to be Across the Spider-Verse, man. Which I've heard.
Well, that's getting. I mean, everyone who I've talked to seen that loves it. I
Yeah.
love the first one, but that's nerdy stuff, right, Ralph?
Totally, completely.
I want to talk about a serial killer movie.
Okay, Drew. I have nothing to
Well,
say.
I watched a show that I honestly wasn't that interested in because it just seemed like a silly idea, but I'm actually really enjoying it. It's called Based on a True Story.
Oh yeah,
It's on
Kelly
Peacock.
Coco, or whatever her name is.
Yeah, Kaylee Cuoco and Chris Messina. And it's about a married couple that is not thrilled with the way things are going compared to their wealthy friends, and they're feeling a lot of money problems, and a baby's coming soon. And then they realize that their new friend is a serial killer. And rather than turning him in, they say, well, we love true crime. Why don't we make a podcast where we interview a real serial killer? And that sounds really dumb. And the show is really fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly where they're going to go with it, but it is
And
working.
she's really
We've watched 4
pregnant. Kelly
episodes.
Coco's really pregnant.
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's either that or the
They
greatest
worked- no, they
prosthetic
worked
I've
it
ever
into
seen.
it.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it a
So
series?
it was,
is it a
it's a series. It's a series. It's I don't know, 6 episodes, 8 episodes. It's on Peacock. I believe all the episodes are out. We've watched about half of it, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really fun. And I felt like, well, it's about people who are interested in something and then they make a podcast, and I was like, I know people who do that, so what the hell, I'll watch this show. So I thought that was really fun. And then there was a movie that came out in 2020 called Becky, which was about a young girl who her family is attacked by Nazis, and so are her dogs, and she has to kill all of them. And it's just fucking great. It's really fun. Because it's just the right way to respond to Nazis, and Kevin James plays a Nazi way against type, and he's really great in it.
Kevin
And,
James plays a Nazi.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. He's got a big swastika on his head and stuff. And Joel McHale is the little girl's father, and it's very nasty, but it's very fun.
What's it called again? Becky?
It's called Becky. The name Becky, Becky. It turns out they made another one. I had no idea till I saw a trailer pop
I
up.
saw the trailer
So
for that.
it's called The Wrath of Becky.
Yeah.
It's not as good. It definitely takes an even sort of loopier tone and then sets up a sequel that I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do. I guess I'll watch it. But it's another lesson in why you should leave people's families alone. You should leave their dogs alone, except this time it's basically Becky versus the Proud Boys. And that's fun. It's satisfying to see people who deserve to get their asses kicked, especially by a little girl. It was not as satisfying as Becky. But I'm glad that I watched it. And again, like the remake, a movie that we watched today, they're each like 85 minutes or something. So if you don't like it, it'll be.
And where are they streaming, or where are they?
Yes, Wrath of Becky, you can rent or buy streaming, and Becky, I believe, I don't know if it's on a streaming service. They're both available for rent. Becky, totally fun, absolutely 100% worth
Yeah, those
watching.
80-minute movies are like watching a 30-minute sitcom.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
and
crazy.
the Wrath of Becky is fun. Like if you like if you liked Becky, see the sequel, keep your expectations appropriate, not low. It's not terrible or anything. It's not as fun as the first one, but it is fun. So that's what I watched this week. Cool.
Awesome. I'm down the rabbit hole of the show I keep trying to get everyone to watch called Jury Duty. So I listened to a podcast by the director who basically, with the director, I'm sorry, it's on the Last Laugh podcast. They interviewed him. Turns out he's a big Adam McKay, Will Ferrell guy. He was early on in that Funny or Die. He did some directing on Saturday Night Live with the Lonely Island crew. I can't think of the name. The guys who made the films.
Andy Samberg and George Cohn. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but I'm wearing this shirt right here, my Jaws shirt, because it's the 45th anniversry of Jaws 2. And,
Jaws 2?
Jaws 2.
I didn't know
45
people
years
kept
ago.
that anniversary.
Well, I'm on there's a YouTube channel I'm watching called The Daily Jaws, and he's got these short little clips where he's interviewing practically the whole cast of that, the original director, Joe Alves, who was the set designer or the designer of the shark. Lots of good interviews. He's interviewing people who wrote books about it. They even
Not
do a
the
thing
writer who blew us off.
No.
Okay, good.
They even do a thing where you queue up the movie and they have a commentary on the thing. It's pretty cool. But yeah, 45 years ago, Jaws 2 came out, if you can believe that. So very exciting. It's a great.
I
show.
waited till the 3D one.
The Daily Jaws. Well, he does the making of Jaws 3D, so you can check that out. So check out.
Funny thing, I was going through my first divorce, Ralph, and that movie was the first movie when my divorce was
Jaws
bad.
2?
Jaws 1.
Oh.
And that took my mind away from my troubles watching that Jaws movie.
Wait a minute. So you saw Jaws came out in 1970.
77.
Yep.
75?
75.
First divorce,
Older than me.
1975.
Wow. Okay. And you went and saw Jaws once you settled your divorce. You go, I'm going to go watch something fun.
Well, my sister, she said, you need to go out and see this movie. Come on, we're going to see this movie. Because I was so,
Well, she had to hire a shark lawyer. So
Your ex-husband was named Bruce, was he? He wasn't Bruce.
No, it was a dissolution of marriage, but it was easy, cut and dried.
Right.
No
well,
problem.
anyway, it's a good YouTube page. The guy's pretty interesting.
Well, can I tell you even better event movie watch afterwards?
What?
Was after my sister killed herself. We decided to go to the movies and we saw Schindler's List.
Oh.
So, yeah, that was.
Well, at least we're going to end on a high note. That's
Jesus,
good.
Sean. I mean,
that was not the good choice for that.
So the other day, I was taking my shoe off and I have a big bunion.
I don't.
No. I've got one. Wait, hold on.
I don't even know why we want people to subscribe. I mean, why? I don't get it. Okay.
Hold on, I've got one. I went to pick up
Debbie and
my
I
dog.
That's shoe.
Debbie and I are
That's
revealing
John,
very personal
John,
things.
thank you so much for that shoe drop.
Listen,
Sure,
I
what were
went
you
to
gonna
pick
say?
up. I went to pick up dog shit in my yard, as one does, and I got stung by a bumblebee right on my finger because apparently they hang out on poop. I had no idea, so I got stung by a bee cleaning
We'll
my
talk
yard.
about that.
Listen,
And then
everybody,
after that,
after
that, I went and I watched The Wrath of Becky. So it all worked out.
do me a favor, folks. After the last 5 minutes, please unsubscribe, hit the down, and you don't want to be notified. All right.
Well, how will they find out what happens to Julian Sands if they don't
That's
stay
true.
subscribed?
Poor
Yeah,
bastard.
what the heck?
We're the only people who really care.
Where is this guy? Where is
I'm
this
starting
guy?
to GoFundMe page to try to find him.
I think he's in the sub
That's
by
it.
the Titanic.
We're done. We're
He's
done.
hidden away in
All
the
right, so
cabin.
next
thank you.
week
Great show tonight.
it's Murder on the Orient.
Murder on the Orient.
Moida.
Moida.
Okay.
On the
Everybody have a
OTP.
good week.
Ralph, you have a great weekend. Get over that jet lag, man. You couldn't even get through the opening.